Doing your check-in. I want to share a story with you. So my mom was here this weekend because my daughter graduated. My youngest graduated from high school, so I'm officially done. Technically, she graduated in January and has already completed a semester of college. But we did the walkthrough and everything this weekend. And my mom was in the house. And she is a lovely woman. I learned so much from her. She's very spiritual. She never had a mother. And it's interesting to get to a place, not never, I'm going to explain that, but it's interesting to get to a place where I now can have compassion for who she is as a person and not be triggered emotionally. Her mother passed away when she was 8. And that's a big wound on a little girl. And she's carried that. And now she's got 4 kids of her own. We're all awesome. I'm just gonna say it, we're awesome. And a big family, but nobody ever mothered her. Her mother had ovarian cancer and then passed away. Anywho, so we're sitting around this weekend and we're talking about how my little brother, whose daughter is my daughter's same age, we had cousins, had the same due date. They weren't coming to the party because it was Sunday night at 6 o'clock and it's a 3-hour plus drive for them. And I was saying how I used to have a story about my brother and his wife. I didn't think they liked me. And it just seemed like they wanted to avoid me and all this, and how I was saying how cool it is because I don't have that story anymore. I don't take it personally. I mean, of course they're not coming. It's Sunday night at 6. And she made a comment, as moms do, and she said, well, for a long time, Colleen, nobody wanted to be around you because of the drinking. And there's 4 of us kids. And there's me and my brother, the youngest of and he made me look like a Cheeto between the drinking and the drugs with that dude. So there was Colleen and John, oldest and youngest, and then Liz and Paul, perfect. And everybody's big drinkers, or so I thought, although now I look around and nobody's drinking like I used to drink, but I thought everybody was at the time. And I would get so confused. Like there was one time at my grandpa's funeral where I got called out, and granted I was on a ton of medications like Xanax and Ativan and Ambien and an antidepressant and all of this, but evidently my tits were hanging out of my dress and I got basically an intervention in the middle of the night at this family event. And I never really got it. I never understood what I was doing that was so different than anybody else. And that actually was a great experience because it led me to get off all my drugs and go vegan. I didn't quit drinking for another 10 years or so, but that was part of my healing journey, that intervention. Anywho, when she said that to me, it brought up so much shame. And she said the words, "I like you so much better now." And what my brain wanted to say was, I didn't love you as much then. And then that's not what she said. She said, I like you so much better now. So, I didn't react, but I did take myself back to my room and gave myself a little time out and just let me feel the shame that I felt that for a good portion of my adult life, when I was being an awesome mother and doing all the things, I was also drinking pretty heavy, and I wasn't as funny as I thought I was. And the truth now is none of that exists. And it's a memory, and I can make whatever story about it that I want. And I chose to decide that the story is that sometimes I drank too much and made an out of myself and made it hard to be around me and maybe even my kids. And that now that I'm not, and that I've gotten my shit together, I can be okay with the fact that I haven't been perfect, and that in the past people thought stuff, and most of the time didn't say anything, except that one time when my kids were hanging on my dress at my grandpa's funeral, and I was slurring. And I can just allow that to hurt and not change the story, that what she meant was that she hasn't loved me. She said, I like you better. And once I got to it, I thought, I like me better too. I like me so much better. It is so much better to be around me right now, even when I'm by myself. And so when you're dealing with the shame, you don't have to change the story, but you can put it into perspective that you weren't always something one way. You can make room for, we are fucking messy humans. And none of us get out of this with a perfect record. And there is no perfect record. We're here to be humans. You know what I mean? So I encourage you, maybe if that story helps in dealing with, shame of the past, it's gonna hurt. Don't be afraid of it though, because the shame is telling you there's something wrong with you. Bring it up. In this moment, there is nothing wrong with me. And I still get people who want to be around me. Do you go yourself, you know what I mean? But the shame, the invitation to feel that shame allows you to look at it in the face versus letting it control you and believing it. As I'm saying this week on my podcast and all sorts of other things, emotions are not the bearers of bad news. Feelings are coming from thoughts. And so I could choose to say, my mom didn't love me as much and my brother didn't like me as much. And I can remember the rejection that I was subconsciously picking up on why didn't anybody call me to go to Tahoe? Like, what the fuck? I can afford to go. Why didn't anybody call me? They went without me, my brothers and my sister. And to find out about all these vacations that they would take after the fact, right in the middle of a close family, but nobody would say why I wasn't invited. And maybe I wasn't not invited. Like, who the fuck cares? It's all in the past now. So I encourage you to look the shame in the face, because then it doesn't have any control over you. And it's okay. Nobody has a big comeback story and an improvement in who they are and stepping into their power if they were already perfect and already in their power. You know what I mean? And so that's the hard part of this, is letting it hurt a little bit. And another thing you said was just dealing with giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. We have been programmed to not be selfish, and that didn't work out that well. That's why we had to drink, so that we could keep going and keep smiling and keep serving and blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work. But there's a difference between being self-focused and self-centered. And of course you could interchange those words. What I mean by self-centered is somebody who makes everything about them because they're seeing themselves from the outside of what their kids think, what their husband thinks, the opinion polls, the logistics and the optics. That creates a very self-centered person that then, you're thinking that the way you feel if something isn't right, you have to go control the external world. And self-centered people are obnoxious to be around. Ironically, it's not selfish to be self-focused, where you are processing your emotions and owning and taking care of yourself, meeting your own needs without needing other people to meet them for you. So there's a difference, and continue to look at the difference. What does it mean to be self-focused, grounded and peaceful, and not make everything about you? Only when you resolve your own emotional pain are you available to be worth a shit for anybody else, and not buy into their dramas. Just like I was able to look at my mom with compassion and think, that was kind of a shit thing to say, except it wasn't. I like you so much better now. I mean, how else do you say, I really like you now? Yeah, but she never had a mother that maybe taught her that something like that can hurt in a girl's gut, to realize that, she might have embarrassed herself for 20 years in a row at certain occasions. And I was able to have compassion for her, not make her responsible for my feelings. Like, she hurt my feelings. My feelings are responsible for the thoughts that my brothers and people didn't like me, and some of it was true, they didn't. And I can handle that. And I was able to see her as a woman who never had a mother. So she never had a mother sitting in her kitchen, telling her that she's so much better now that she's not a drunk ass. And having compassion for her allows me to not feel that pain, and also make a mental note to not say shit like that to my daughters. So anyway,